So, Claire Alvin, if you are an absolute beginner, this class, of course, is for you. This is, office hours class, so it's not really the part of the mandatory classes. So this is office hours. Office hours is where we talk about anything else apart from coding, and we also revise some of the topics we discussed that were a little bit challenging. In our case today, we are going to look at something interesting, the world of animation. I actually do not know how to animate. This is a software I tried working with a very long time ago. Got a little bit challenging, I gave up. So I decided we can have a look at it. Okay. I decided we can have a look at it as we take a break from all the coding, and we can also look at knowledge dependency trees, which is a nice, interesting way to help you understand, software engineering faster, or maybe to help you avoid the confusion. So after this class, I would recommend that you go back and watch first class. It's somewhere, I think, labeled class 7, which was, it's actually a little bit messed up, but you can start with the class labeled class 1, first class, and then from there you can start with class 0, class 1, class 2, class 3, up to class 11. Up to that point we'll be at par, but for today we are not really going to code much. We look at a few lines of code, but nothing heavy today. We're having fun. I even have my cup of tea here. Sujay Umar, glad to see you here. Welcome. I think you've heard everything I was telling Alvin, so there's no need to repeat that. Kimathi, yes. Oh, Engine Morris, yes. But do stick around. This class is for you. We are not going to talk about anything that you haven't learned yet. Yep. So I'm waiting for my wife before we begin, and she's there playing with the cats. Oh, I'm also using a different source of light, so if it's a little bit too bright on your end, let me know. I'll try to reduce the brightness. Engine Morris anasema huko kadi. Engine Morris, yes, ako kadi. All right, so she's here. Do you guys want to say hi? Come on, say hi. Say hi. Say hi.
Hi guys.
All right, so I've gone ahead and downloaded Blender software, and if you also want to download it on your computer, you can just go to Blender 3D. I'm looking for Blender 3D. All right, so where is it? Oh, the travel agent. Yeah, we are trying to see when soonest we can start the data analysis. So pretty soon we'll have the course live. So it will be the same way we did the same way we are doing the self-taught computer science. Boaz Ruto, glad to see that I was able to be of some impact. So I've shared the link for Blender if you want to go ahead and download it. However, I have to warn you that it's a little bit heavy. It's a very heavy software. So if your laptop does not have enough RAM, CPU, you might struggle a little bit, but that's just a precaution to have in mind. So why Blender? Why are we talking about 2D and 3D animations? Let me just I've minimized the wrong thing. My goodness. Let me just minimize this. there's a video here I want us to start with. Yeah, sure. No horror. But this is Devil's Rock. Yeah, so let's look at this video, and if you want to listen to it on your end, I've shared the link. Yeah, if you have GPU, that will be super helpful. Just in case you're wondering the specifications on my computer, this is what I'm using. So system about, young lady, sit here. So these are the specifications on my computer, if you're wondering what the specifications are. So let's look at this animation, for example. This animation, it's like a movie, for those who love animations. And as you can see here, it gathered. Oh my goodness, where did I get garnered? Anyway, it's about at 1.3 million views. I don't know how much YouTube pays for that. But so you have things like this. So if you learn 2D, 3D animations, you can be able to make animations such as this. This is just a movie. There's a part I really love. I really thought they did some good work on it. Yeah, something like this. I think there are quite a few on YouTube, like this one right here. It's around 3.5 million views. So if you are looking for something to do on the side, a hobby or something, you can maybe explore this kind of stuff, and create your own channel or do TikTok videos and whatnot. So apart from this, we also use animations to advertise. If I just look at advertisements, advertisements, I'm looking for something with an animation or something. Okay, Cadbury. Oh yeah, something like this. Yeah, so something like this, you'd be able to do it in Blender. And as a matter of fact, after you've learned how to animate, I do not know how to animate by there. I'm just sharing the software and what it is. So you can find a company, for example, a Kenyan company that does not have very well, it doesn't have very good adverts, and they sort of like don't have that kind of a budget, and do something like this for them. And then, just share with them, see how it goes. Who knows? Might get a contract, and they say kuomoka. So the purpose of the self-taught computer science course is not just to teach you software engineering, computers, and all that. No, that is over. We also want to learn about anything else involved along the way. So for today, we are going to look at 2D and 3D animations. In a future course, we will look at graphic design, where we design posters, banners, logos, brand identity. If you're wondering what brand identity is, you can just come here, dribble. So here I'll say brand identity. Evans Omondi, yes. So brand identity is something like this, which is sort of like part of graphic design, where you create a brand from scratch. Things like, let's say, for example, this is brand identity. So if you can code, if you can build a website, a mobile app, and you also have this in your resume, you have a higher chance of getting a job. As a matter of fact, the current position where I'm at right now, I got that job because my resume indicated that I'm also a graphic designer. I know how to design. That is the only thing that made me get that job. Otherwise, all the other participants were way ahead of me. Yeah. So don't just code. Also add this kind of skills to your stack. You don't have to be a master. Like, you'll see whatever I do here is just nonsense, but at least I know what Blender 3D is. If I just had 4 hours every day to learn, I probably would be in a very good position. So those are some of the things you can do with animations. You can just start creating your own animated series and post them on on TikTok or YouTube. I think I should do that. We should do that. Yeah, we should create animation. So be on the lookout, guys. I'll be releasing my own animated series. The guy who created Capinto, does he use Blender too? Let's see. I don't know who that is. What can I search? Uh-huh. That gay dude.
This one.
Oh, I'm not sure if this is Blender. I don't think it is. Let's see his Instagram. I think I'll be able to see if he has uploaded a screenshot of the software. So apart from Blender 3D, we do have other software that does the same thing. We have things like I'm trying to see a photo where he okay, I can't. So we have other software. I think this guy uses Maya 3D, if I'm not wrong. I think I once saw his screen. It was Maya. There's Maya and there's also Autodesk. So there's Maya 3D. It's Autodesk. It's the same thing. This one right here. But keep in mind, Blender 3D is free. I'm not sure whether Maya 3D is free. I don't think it's free. Yeah. So this is the software. After you've downloaded and you open it, if I just open it again, let me open it. So it's right here. So if I open it, this is what I see. It gives you a few options. VFX. So for example, you see in the movies when somebody hits a wall with one hand and the wall breaks, that is what you call VFX. If, for example, you see like Iron Man, they use such software to do all those kinds of things. But for now, we can try 2D animation. No, this one is behind with a few minutes. So we can try 2D animation, and so when you do 2D animation, this is what you get. It's just a blank whatever. So what I can do is I can look for a walk sequence. Let me try walk sequence. Walk sequence, yeah, but this is very complex. Let me see which one is easy to draw. Let's just try with this one. So I'll download this image. So I'm going to use this as my reference image. So I just put it under downloads. I'll go back to Blender. I'll open downloads. I'll look for the image and then I drag it there. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? It's a little bit too big. Let me try to zoom out. Oh yeah. So let's try to do a 2D animation of somebody walking. Okay. So in Blender, you have quite a few options. For example, down here is what you call keyframes, where you put your keyframes. And keyframes are basically like the points you want to do an animation. So the thing with 2D animation is that you basically just draw the images, okay? And then you move the images as you draw to simulate whatever action you want to do. So let me just remove this cursor out of the way. Where is it? Where is this one? Okay, it's refusing to pick your friend. Okay, so we can start by drawing this. So we can draw the head, and then we draw the hand, and then this leg, and then we draw that leg. Oh my goodness. And then we draw that leg. Okay, and then we come here and then we put another keyframe. So we'll draw the face, and then we draw this hand, we draw that hand, we draw that leg, and we draw that leg. You see how animation is it's fun but also tedious. We go back to the second frame, we draw this hand, we draw that hand, we draw that leg. Guys, you see the way I'm struggling? It's because I'm using a mouse. If you guys make a donation, I'll buy a very nice tablet to do these things, okay? So do make a donation. The number is down there. We draw the next animation, the next frame. So we draw that, we draw that, we draw this leg, and we draw that leg. So we do the same for this. We do that, we draw that leg. And I'm going to shut up now so that I can just draw. Okay. Don't even know what I'm doing. Eh? Okay, let me just do it up to the end and then I see. So we do that. We do that. We draw this leg. We draw. Oh my goodness! I forgot to put the keyframes. Control Z. I'm just doing Control Z to undo. I forgot to put these things down here. So you have to go to the next keyframe and draw it again. So we draw the face. We draw that. We draw that. We draw that. And then you go to the next. So before you draw the next keyframe, you have to do this kind of thing. And then you go to the next one. You draw this person like so, like so. Then you go to the next frame. So this is why animations actually take ages to produce. If you see any animation, 5 seconds long, it probably took 4 months to okay, it depends with the time somebody has. It might take less. It might take. Okay, this is going to be one of the ugliest animations I've ever done. All right, so once that is done, we can go back to the first frame here. And I want to remove this photo. Now, I don't even know how to remove this damn photo. Let me see. I need to use the pick tool. So I'll go to object mode. I'm trying to grab the image. It is nowhere to be seen. Now, where is this image? Yeah, okay. How to remove reference image from Blender 3D or Blender 3D grease pencil. I think that's what it's called. Now, what do you mean outline? Toggle visibility. Click the eye icon next to the image name in the outliner to hide. Okay, so where is the outliner? Oh yeah, I think it's right here. So we have strokes. So if I toggle this, I think it removes the lines. My goodness, what have I gotten myself into? I do not know how to remove the reference image. Okay, let's see if the animation is working. Now it's working, but it's super fast. It is super fast. So let's try something else. So I'll just do the walking sequence is just not my thing. So I'll go to File, New, 2D animation. Don't save because I messed up. So assuming you want to do a ball bouncing, okay, up and down. So I'll zoom out of this viewport and then I'll go up to that point. So here I want to draw a ball. It's right here, okay, and then the second the ball is right here, and then at this particular time it's right here, and then as it hits the ground it becomes squashed sort of, okay, and then we repeat the sequence. So let's see if that works. So okay, it's just hitting the ground and staying there. So what if we want it to hit the ground and move? So I'll just do Control D I don't know why it's okay. Why are you whispering? All right, so let's see if this is bouncy. Toop toop. Ooh, that is too fast. So I will zoom in. And then let me see if we can do this. So it goes down, hits the floor, goes up again, hits the floor, like so, like so. Yeah, complex stuff. I think I'm just good at coding. Let me leave all this 2D nonsense to people who want to do. We climb again. So, I actually realized today that you can integrate an AI agent into this software, so that instead of you drawing, you can just use text. You can tell it, I want a character with 3 eyes, and then at the second minute, I want the character to have a certain eyes, and so on and so forth. So I have downloaded a sample file here, something I just wanted to learn with. All right, so I have sample files here. So let me just try with this one. So I'll open it with Blender. All right, so what I have here is a scene. You know, for those who do architecture, interior design, this is kind of what you want to do. So this is just a scene. As you can see, I can zoom out. It's a house. I can zoom out to this point. You know, like so. I can see we have some. I think I left some seats outside here when I was moving. So we have seats outside, but you know, you don't put seats outside. And then we have the couch here. We have another one here. So this is what we call object mode, where you can just, for example, I can pick this, and then I can pick the move tool. I can say I don't want this seat here. I want this seat right here. Okay. So this one as well. I might decide I want it at the back there. Okay. And then once I'm comfortable with whatever I've done, I can come to this option at the top here, which is called rendered. It just gives you a rendered view of what you've done. A rendered view is more like a near actual image of what you've done. Yeah, and this is our house. So as you can see, we have you know, trees and whatnot on the outside, and we can just zoom in like so. You know, there's quite a lot going on, and my computer is struggling to render. But we can look at it from this angle. Give it a few minutes to render. Yeah, like so. Yeah, so you can also toggle the camera view here, so that you're only looking at a specific spot in the house. So if I can just do that and give it a few seconds. As you can see, we have our view of the house. You know, we have the couch and everything. Again, if you don't like that view, you can just pan the camera around to focus at a specific spot. So I can just keep doing that. You know, I don't even know what I'm doing right now, but I can change my camera up to that angle, and then I go back into camera view. I did not change anything. All right, so let's look at another example of somebody of some action. So let's see. I have again another sample here. I hope it's this one. Let me just move it here. Can you guys hear my CPU going like? All right, I think this is taking ages to load. It's quite big. So I'll just close it and try to open it again. And this is how computers crash. Oh, this is another one. But you don't want that. Oh yeah, you want this one. All right. So as you can see, Blender also, this is here, clouding.py. Blender also uses Python. So you can also decide to build a Blender plugins, and then some of them we do what you call open sourcing. Some of them you sell. So let's see what happens here when we hit play. So I'm just hitting play down here, and as I can see, it's a character lifting the whatever. I think they are fighting or something. Look at that. 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 Oh, he did. All right. So let's see if we can do something right here when he's getting a whooping. So let me see. Let me go to object mode. Object mode. Let me see. What if I click this? I want to go to I want to rotate it. What am I rotating? My goodness. What if I do this? Not rotating. Exit. All right, let me see if the rotation worked. So I'll go back to the beginning here. I'll hit play. He's dead. Anyway, yeah, so what else can we do with Blender? Let's see if I have any other model to have a look at. Let me open this one, animation of a bicycle. So if I hit play, as you can see, it's just a lady riding a bicycle, and then you have all these all these things, doing whatever. So what if we want to make the this method, move? Maybe where did this come from? Let's see how we can do that. So we can go into object mode, and then let's try to make this tire a little bit bigger. So I'll scale it. I'll scale it up to that point, and then I go back. I'll hit play again, and as you can see, the tire behind is a little bit bigger. So what else can we do with this character? We can try to, what else? Let's try and make the hair, or just the character in general, a little bit bigger. So I'll do S to scale, and then I'll do that. Then I'll hit play, and the character has a big head. Yeah. Anyway, I do have passion for design. I've wanted to learn 2D animation and 3D animation for the longest time, but time is not on my hand. Anyway, I just wanted to introduce you guys to the idea of 3D and 2D animation, so that after learning this software engineering business, if things don't work out for you, you might decide to do 2D animations and create movies and whatnot. People are creating animations with these things actually, and they put them on YouTube, on Facebook or wherever. and make a small earning out of it. So that is something you might also want to consider doing in, as a hobby. I've actually gotten excited looking at Blender 3D again. I feel like I should start my own series. I don't know what the story would look like. If you guys have any ideas, you can share in the chats. Anyway, enough of the 2D animations. Now let's jump to knowledge dependency trees. So I'll open an article here I wrote. Yeah, so this article is on Soma Stories, and you can just search how knowledge dependency trees help you learn faster. So, software engineering has always been one of the toughest disciplines to teach. It's because it's quite complex. A lot depend on, there's a lot of dependencies in terms of concepts. So for example, you cannot learn about functions if you don't know variables, if you don't know parameters, if you don't know arguments. Okay, so you need to know what an argument is, what is a parameter, how to call a function. Also, your function is pretty much useless if it doesn't have any logic inside it. So you also have to learn if statements, we call them control flows, and logic. You also have to learn while, variables, and whatnot. So these are what you call knowledge dependency trees, and there's quite a lot of research that backs this up. So let me just unlock this. There is a lot of research that backs this up, and if you wanted to learn software engineering, this is the sort of knowledge dependency flow for you to understand software engineering. So number one, we have the foundational, the basics, and I think this you already covered. I even used the example of withdrawing money from an ATM. To a user, you just go to an ATM, put in your card, put in the amount you want, put in the PIN, and you get your money. But to a software engineer, that involves a lot of steps. For example, does the user have an active account? Does the active account have enough balance? Has the card been inserted and the PIN entered correctly? Because if you insert your card halfway and don't enter your PIN, of course, it's not going to work. And then, is the amount the user has typed a valid figure? For example, somebody might type 0 or negative 2, 3. Of course, ATMs don't have negative, I think, but somebody might type 0, which is invalid. And then when the user confirms, does their balance actually cover the request? You cannot withdraw 200 shillings when you only have 50 shillings in your account. And so on and so forth. And this is the part of, understanding the basics of software engineering that will help your learning a little bit way easier. So it's kind of like part of logical thinking, in that if, for example, I buy this microphone, as a software engineer, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. Is the mic supported on my laptop? Do I need an extra software to configure the microphone? All those questions that a normal user cannot ask themselves. Okay, and a good example to see this in practice is if you're buying something online, okay, and you have to search. So websites like Jumia have millions of records. You would imagine Jumia has been in the market for almost 10 years now. I don't know, 10 years, 6, 8. So they have millions of records of items. So when a user goes to the website and they search HP laptop, to a normal user, they're just searching for an HP laptop. There's nothing else they're interested in, about the workings of the app. But as a software engineer, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. So if you are searching millions of records, how would we want to order these records? If out of 1 million records, 600,000 laptops have been sold, do we want to show the 600,000 laptops that have been sold, or do we strictly want to show the laptops that are available in stock? As well, if you want to show the user results of the search, do you want to start with the laptops that are expensive, or do you want to start with the laptops that are least expensive? So all these questions you ask yourself as a software engineer, and do practice this outside the scope of writing code, in your normal daily activity. If you go into a matatu and you pay with M-Pesa, try to ask yourself questions that a software engineer can ask themselves. When I'm trying to pay with my M-Pesa, do I have enough money in my M-Pesa? If I don't have enough money, I'll use what is it called? Fuliza. If, for example, I'm using a Visa card to, a credit card to pay, do I have enough money in my account? Is my card valid? And so on and so forth. As men, I know this comes to us naturally. I'm sorry, I'm not misogynistic or whatever. My wife will hit me for saying this, but as men, this comes to us intuitively. Like, for example, if I go on a date with a beautiful woman, of course the lady is maybe happy to see me, maybe she's happy for free food, it happens, but on my end I'm thinking, okay, so this lady looks like she will order pizza. Do I have enough money to pay for pizza? If you see her saying pizza, you might say something like, hey, I'm allergic to pizza. Can you try ugali and skuma? To play with your budget. I hope you get the message. Don't focus on the delivery. Try to get the message of what I'm trying to say. So once you're done understanding the basics, the questions that goes into the features that you see, you now go into the core programming concepts. So here you look at variables, you look at data types, you look at control flows. And the interesting bit here is that it doesn't matter what language you choose, okay? Like I always say, if somebody asks me, what stack are you focusing on? I feel like that is the wrong question, okay? Because software engineering in general is just all about, the thinking, the creating solutions. It doesn't matter what language you code in. But for the love of God, leave alone C++, okay? For now. So, if we look at an example of defining a variable and printing the output. In Python, this is how you do it. Name Alice. Why is this thing so close to my mouth? So in Python, you will do something like name is Alice. We want to print name. How about in JavaScript? The same thing in JavaScript. This is how you do it, okay? Let name be Alice. Okay, you can replace this with const and it still works. If you're coding in C++, why are you coding in C++? Anyway, so if you want to develop games and I think embedded applications, like for example, the software inside your smartphone, inside your smartwatch, probably was made with C++ or C. The same as the software inside your fridge, the software inside your microwave, the software inside your car. All those are what we call embedded systems. And the best, I think the most common software used in embedded systems is C++ or C, if I'm not wrong. So this is how you will do it in C, okay? A lot of code. In Rust, Rust is also a programming language. This is how you do it. So as you can see, the syntax changes a little bit. The comma, the quotation marks, the squiggly whatever, it changes a little bit. But the underlying principle does not change. Define a variable and then print it, as simple as that. So don't focus on one programming language, like Python. This is how we define a variable in Python. No, focus on why do we need a variable in the first place, okay? Why are we printing this variable? Those are some of the things you need to focus on. And then once we are done with the fundamentals, which is just the like I've said, variables, control flows, if statement. What is the use of an if statement? Why do we need a while statement? Okay, now you dive deeper into object-oriented programming. Okay, and this is where we have the concept of classes, objects, inheritance, encapsulation. A lot of schools rush students on this part, like I've indicated there, but this is actually how can I put it, like programming, especially in languages like Python, JavaScript, It's entirely object-oriented programming. So you have to understand object-oriented programming. As a matter of fact, in class 7, when you looked at was it classes, object-oriented programming, you need to watch that tutorial again. Make sure you can create a class, you can create functions inside the class, but a function inside the class is not called a function, it's called a method. Just a nice way I interpret it. So and when you watch any tutorial, they always use the concept of a car, student name, or sure, some people understand it, understand better when you do that, but I like to use actual examples. So I've provided an example here. Imagine a user logs into a website, like Soma Stories right now, okay? If I navigate this page, let me just open a new page here. So whatever page I navigate to, it doesn't ask me to log in again. It remembers who I am. The same applies to Facebook. If I open Facebook right now and my computer was off, if I open Facebook and my computer was off, Facebook Anyway, focus. Facebook remembers who I am, okay? So if I go to, for example, friends, it doesn't ask me to log in. If I open this guy right here, it doesn't ask me to log in. If I say confirm request, Facebook understands who is confirming the request. So it doesn't ask me to log in again, okay? So that means my information, okay, the user information is stored somewhere on the browser, okay? So, and I've represented that here. So we have const user, the user has a name, an email, and a profile photo. Okay, and you can read all about this, how you keep referring to the user element, to the user item, the user object. Oh my goodness, the user object. Every time you want to work with different users, okay? If, for example, Bob logs in, you don't have to create the entire list of variables, the entire list of, control logic to check. You just create the object, the user object, and then you give it to, you assign it to a variable. Am I making sense? Again, you can just read through the article again if you're lost. So once you're done understanding object-oriented programming, which is sort of like an advanced level from the basics, you now learn the language-specific knowledge, okay? For example, if you want to if you want to define a list in JavaScript, this is what we use, okay? So for example, we use the squiggly whatever. If you want to define a list in Python, we use the square whatever, okay? So this is now focusing on the specific language syntax, and I don't think that should be an area of that should not bother you, because you can always refer to the documentation for that language to understand the syntax. What's up? Yep. So once you're done with the language specific knowledge, you can now move into frameworks and ecosystems, okay? If you were in our office hours last Monday, we built a full stack website from scratch. And if you remember, we used a framework called Fast API. Was it Fast API? Yes. We used, what did we use? We used Next.js. We used Next.js, and we also used SQLite, okay? So now after you've understand the basics, you've understand the syntax of each language, you can now move deeper into frameworks and the entire ecosystem. Like if we're talking about Next.js in the front end, what exactly are we talking about? And then after that is done, you now move into the tooling and collaboration. How do you collaborate on the same project? How do you and your friend collaborate on the same project, okay? And that is where Git and GitHub comes in. Very important. Git and GitHub are very extremely important. So we will go back, and you can read this article. I'll just leave a link in the chats. You can just save it somewhere. You can go through it. So if we look at how does that knowledge dependency tree look like if you want to do web development? And if you want to do web development, of course, you need basic computer skills, okay? You need to know how to turn on your computer. You need to know the difference between left and right clicking. You need to, know how to install software on your computer. And we covered all this in class 0, class 1, and first class, which was class 7, which was a recap. After that, you also need to know how the internet works. You need to understand terminal and CLI, and you also need to understand Git and version control. So the dependency tree can, it can be custom, however you want it to be. For example, somebody might say, programming feels more natural to me to learn before I learn terminal. Yeah, that does not make any sense, but just get the point. So in my case, for example, I think Git and version control should be here. In most software engineering curriculum, they put Git and version control almost towards the end, which does not make any sense to put it there. Once you're done with terminal and CLI is actually CMD on Windows. The same as terminal. So when I say terminal, CLI, I'm talking about CMD. So I think up to this point, we've covered all this. So right now, you should be comfortable with all these topics, this concept. You should be comfortable with Git and GitHub. You should be comfortable with command CMD. You should be comfortable, you should understand how the internet works. So once you're done with that, you move now into programming. We look at variables, data types, control flows, function, and basic data structures like lists, dictionaries, and whatnot. And like I've clarified here, you can pick pretty much any language to learn the fundamentals. And once you're done now learning the programming language, you now dive into now the specific frameworks and, UI, UX. So here the king of front end is JavaScript. I don't think there's any other framework that is used in front end as much as JavaScript. So in front end, in JavaScript frameworks, you can pick Vue.js, AngularJS, Next.js, and so on and so forth. So this is where we are now. On our Wednesday class, we'll be looking at JavaScript frameworks, and we'll pick any framework, okay? Personally, I've used Next.js quite a lot. Bootstrap a little bit in the long time ago, but we'll pick any framework here and try to learn it. And as you also learn JavaScript framework, you learn UI UX, and UI UX is basically how the website looks, how the app feels. So if we look at Soma Stories, for example, let me just go to the home page, which has a lot of. So I'll go to the home page. Let me just log out. So as you can see, this is UI UX, okay? The reason why I decided to use a very simple login page is because this is a platform for people to read. There's nothing else I want to do here. I want you to come, log in, read a story, support a local writer, and that's it, okay? So I wanted to make my login page very simple, very easy to follow along, reduce the distractions. Also, as you come to the home page, as you can see, I have what we call the call to action buttons. These are what we call call to action. And this is the title. And here I have a small animation that shows how the entire platform works. So you write your story. This, indicates somebody writing their story. So this is somebody writing their story. And then once they are done writing their story, they share their story with their colleagues, friends. Their colleagues and friends will unlock. And then after they have unlocked the stories, the author gets something from each unlock. Okay. So that's simple. And then at the bottom, I've jumped straight into some of the stories. I'm showcasing some of the stories here. You should actually go and read this story. It's funny. And then here I have another what we call call to action. Okay. And then here I have the footer. Very simple, nothing complex, nothing, I've decided I wanted to minimize the colors. So this is part of what we call user interface. or user experience. So that is UI UX. It's a whole field, by the way, in software engineering. There are people who just do UI UX. And if you go to your browser right now and Google something like UI UX jobs or vacancies, as you can see, there's quite a lot. Of course, the job market is dirty. I think 80% of the jobs posted here are just, but Soccer Watch needs a UX designer. So let's see. What is Soccer Watch, by the way? Access to essential goods and services. Yeah, so actually, the trick when you're doing Tech Savannah, okay, interesting. UI UX designer, youth financial services. So the trick when you're looking for these jobs is to look for companies that are, in my own opinion, less known. Okay, so there's a company like, for example, Pitch Cars. I think the last time I checked, they were looking for a Flutter developer. Flutter developer is a mobile app developer. If you go to the footer, careers, yeah, I think they have Flutter developer right here, and you can just read through and understand what a Flutter developer does. We will build a Flutter app in this course, but you can just go through it to understand the job market better. Yeah, so this is an entire field. This is what we call front end. This section right here, it's what we call front end engineering. I think with the technological changes we've had recently with AI and everything, people don't really focus on front end and back end. I've seen more people trying to go all in, which is what you call full stack. But anyway, once you understand the front end, you can, I'm trying to zoom out, my goodness. You can now jump into backend, and in backend we have APIs, we have databases, we have security. Actually this is part of APIs. And here I've said don't use Supabase. Don't use Supabase. And then once you're done with the backend, you now jump into operations. Okay, so that is now understanding is our code well tested before we make it available to users, and then you dive into cloud infrastructure, you dive into DevOps, and now using all that knowledge, you'll be able to build your own full stack application, like a website, an e-commerce website. And here I've given you an example of all the tools that can be used. So we have Next.js, Express, Postgres, Redis, BullMQ. Actually, this is the stack that powers Soma Stories, but only that here we have also Flutter and Flask. All right, so this is what I was showing you guys the other time when I was looking at technology lookup. So if you go to any website, like for example this one, and okay, let me just use my own tab here. Let me close this. No, I'll just minimize it. So we'll go to this and we do something like Jumia, and then we see what we'll go to Wapalizer. So as you can see, Jumia is built with they're not really showing a lot of information here, so we can just copy it and go to technology lookup, built with, and then we paste the website. Come on, man. Anyway, whoever wants to check can but I can just come here and say, okay, let me just try ChatGPT. Okay, and I can do something like, what is facebook.com built with? So I can see the backend is PHP. I actually saw a video of somebody on TikTok telling people not to learn PHP in 2026. Yeah. So we can see Facebook is using PHP. So why would somebody tell you not to learn PHP? Doesn't make any sense. And then they have their infrastructure running with C++, Erlang, Python. Their front end is mostly JavaScript, React. They are using MySQL for their database, Memcached for caching. We'll also look at caching. This course will be super interesting. Actually, we'll look at quite a lot of things. They have AI and machine learning. For example, if you post something that Facebook does not like, they'll take down your post. Let's look for another website. Let's look at TikTok, for example. What tech stack was used to build TikTok? Once we're almost done. So we can see TikTok uses Go, Java, Python, C++, I think for their backend. That is why TikTok is super fast, because they're using technology that, blazing fast. And then video processing, we have all these tools. Recommendation system runs on Python and C++. TensorFlow, quite a lot of stuff. The front end, uses Swift for the mobile and Kotlin for the Android app. Their database is MySQL, and so on and so forth. So most of the production systems, that we use, Facebook, Soma Stories, eCitizen, Bank of Rwanda, Bank of Uganda, it just doesn't use one framework like React and Python. No, it uses quite a lot of technologies, each doing its own work, so that the entire platform works okay without any issues. So now, what if you wanted to do mobile development? Okay, you wanted to focus only on mobile development. This is how the dependency tree would look like. First, you'll need to learn basic computer skills. Secondly, you need to learn how the internet works, terminal and CLI, Git and version control. You'll need to understand programming in general, control flows, variables, functions, logic, while statements. And here you can use Dart, Java, or JavaScript. Each of these build mobile applications. So once that is done, you can now go and look at mobile frameworks like Flutter, React Native, Kotlin, or Ionic. And in mobile app, we also have UI UX. Okay, if you look at Soma Stories, the UI UX looks pretty dope. Don't you guys agree? The UI UX of Soma Stories is pretty awesome. Let's just have a look at it. You see? Okay. So I wanted to make it simple. If you want to create a story, all you need to do is just to click the create button. If you want to top up your account, if you want to read stories and you do not have enough tokens, all you need to do is just click the wallet icon, and then that gives you the options to top up. So that is part of UI UX. Okay. And if you want to have an advantage over anybody else applying for any job, you combine the two. You become very good at writing the code, like for example, show the user profile here, get the stories here, and also you combine that with good UI UX. Okay. So once you're done with that, you also learn about APIs, which REST frameworks, databases, security. You also learn about testing, cloud infrastructure, DevOps. And after you've combined all these, you can now be able to build your mobile application. And okay, this is wrong. You can now be able to build your mobile application. So as you can see, from these two knowledge dependency trees, we have things that are common. So it's basic computer skills, and then you go to the second layer, and then you go to the second layer, and then maybe at the third layer is now when you might want to focus on different things. And then, the layer below is just the same, across the two platforms, and then so on and so forth. So just to clarify, we've covered all this up to this point. We are at par. Now we want to look at JavaScript frameworks, Next.js. We want to see how do we display something like this. Let me just open the page again. Where is it? So now we want to see how do we put these buttons here. How do we put this here? If we scroll up like so, how do we make this appear the way it is? You see, if you scroll up, it's different. If you scroll down, it's different. Okay. We want to see how do we make this clickable. So if you click on it, it leads you to Play Store where you can download the app. If you the Apple is not yet ready. How do we add this? How do we design a footer like so that whatever page we are in, if you go to the stories page and you scroll down, the footer is still there. It's not it's still there. If we open a story, for example, this one, this is a story about my wife and I, by the way. And then you scroll to the bottom, we have related stories here, and then we have the footer here. So how can we do this? This will be part of what we'll cover next, which is on Wednesday in our session. So that is on JavaScript frameworks. So now looking at knowledge dependency trees. How can you apply it when you're learning about smaller sections of the dependency tree? So for example, we've talked about object-oriented programming. How can you use that sort of analogy to learn object-oriented programming? So we have learned that we can create classes. Okay, so I can just come here and say create a simple class in Python, for example, and then you read. So as you read the code, or when you get to this part, you see we have the concept of we define the class, and then we have a constructor, which means runs when you create an object, and then we have the concept of self, and then we have now the method that you want to call. So right at this point, you need to draw your knowledge dependency tree so that you can connect the dots. Some of us can do it we don't need to write it down. You can just know that, oh, I need to learn constructors, or I need to learn, self and whatnot. But if you want to make it easier for yourself, you can just come here and, of course, you can do this on paper, not on this software that I'm using. And then you say, so I'm learning about object-oriented programming. And to understand object-oriented programming, I need to understand classes, okay? So here I will say I need to understand classes, and for me to understand classes, I need to understand constructors or methods. Okay, so here I can come and say let me just enlarge this. I'll come and say constructor and methods. Okay, like so. So now here I can keep going back until I get to that thing I already understand, like a variable, for example, or an if statement or a function. So I can come to, if you're using ChatGPT and it has given you all these, you can just read through, and then you can come here. See, we have the concept of a constructor. So you go to constructor, you say what exactly is a constructor. Okay. And then of course it will tell you what a constructor is. A constructor is a special method in a class that runs automatically when you create your new object. Okay, so when you say it runs automatically, what does that mean? Okay, if you look at the way we've defined our class here, as you can see, this is a function, indicated by the definition of diff keyword. This is a function, and this is also a function. But that concept of running automatically, now let's look at how we can instantiate that object. So here we are creating a variable called person1, and then we are creating an object of this person right here, and then you are passing in Moses and 24, and then pay attention to this, we are calling the greet function. Okay, nowhere have we called the init function. So that is what they mean by saying it runs automatically when you create. Okay, so we've not called it anywhere. Remember, we said the purpose of a function goes through 3 stages. Number 1, you define it. Number 2, you specify the instructions that will run inside it. And then number 3, you call the function. If you don't call it, it will not run. It will not do anything. Your instructions are good as nothing. So that is what they mean when they say it runs automatically. Okay. So after you've understood this explanation, you might want to understand what this self.name is, okay? So you go back to your knowledge graph. You say, for you to understand this constructor thing, you need to understand the self keyword, okay? The self keyword. So you need to understand the self keyword. Now, like I said, you go back, creating the tree, you'll get to something you already know. Like, for example, if statement, for example, variables, for example, while statements, and so on and so forth. So this is basically it on knowledge dependency tree. It's what I mostly use when I'm learning anything. I'm actually currently learning data science, and I employ this heavily because in data science you'll get things like, let me show you guys the absurdity. See, I'm at this part, neural networks, okay, and we do have you see those mathematical equations there. I have no idea what those things mean. Okay, I can't define them, but intuitively, using the knowledge dependence tree, I know, for example, this is a function. I know this does what. Okay, this is not a function right here, but I'm just saying I can know this is a function. Oh, something is cooking in the kitchen. That's why you hear the noise. Something is cooking. Yeah, so I do advise you guys to go through this article, the knowledge dependency tree. Do read it, do understand what message is trying to, what message I was trying to deliver, and then you can see if you can employ knowledge dependency trees in your work. Also, for those who have been, let's go back to Blender 3D. So for all those who have been, excited by Blender 3D, I would like you to also exploit, see if you can create tiny simple animations with it. I think I need to find, they actually have courses here. You can just watch the courses and see what it's about. Don't they have like demo? There was a demo somewhere. What happened to the demo page? Modeling. Okay, so you can watch that tutorial. Yeah, so if I succeed understanding how you can integrate, AI into Blender 3D to make the work easier for you, I'll also share with you guys, so that we learn as we go ahead. Are there any questions? The office hours is over, not unless there are any questions. I think we can call it a day. Oh, Lil Sam, you were asking the difference between object-oriented programming and functional programming. I think the easiest way to understand is in function programming we only use functions, okay? But in object-oriented programming we group our, we use the concept of objects. I think that is the only way I can explain for now. But as we write more code, you'll begin to understand the difference. We can also have a look at a few functional programming languages and see the differences. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. Function programming languages. I don't know. Anyway, bye. Get out of here. Go drink some water. Go eat some food. All right, bye.